What's up, family? What's up? What's up? This is Coach Cookie, your life and relationship coach. So glad you guys are here with me today. Thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time listening in, thank you so much for joining me. If you like what you hear, please give the podcast a like, comment, and don't forget to share with your family and friends. To all my regular listeners out there, welcome back. And I want you to know that you're greatly appreciated. Here at Rising Higher, I'm going to give you some snippets for success to not only help you to survive, but to help you thrive. Now, in today's episode, we're going to talk about the red flags associated with narcissistic abuse. But before we do that, let's talk about the high points from last week's episode called The Aftermath from Narcissistic Abuse. Now, in this episode, I discuss how the side effects of the narcissistic abuse lingers long after we have left the narcissist. And when we leave the narcissist, long after that, it's like we have these deep scars that linger on even after we leave them. The victims usually has low self-esteem, and they question themselves, and they often feel like everything that they were doing is wrong. And the things that the victim questions themselves about usually is a lot of times what the narcissist didn't like about them or what the narcissist wouldn't allow them to do. If you would like to learn more about the aftermath of narcissistic abuse and how to deal with it, go back and listen to the entire episode. Again, it's called The Aftermath from Narcissistic Abuse. Today on Cookie's Commentary, I want to talk about people who may be in a position when they are in a relationship with a friend or a family member or a boss or somebody who may be possibly using you. I just want you guys to think about this for a minute. Have you ever had a sneaking suspicion that someone might be trying to get the upper hand on you? Do you only hear from that one friend of yours only when they need something? Does your supervisor often push you to stay that extra hour when you really don't want to stay that extra hour? Perhaps it's even your partner who insists that you buy them that new makeup kit that they've been eyeing for the longest. No matter the relationship, being used by someone is downright outrageous and it's hurtful. And I want to remind you guys out there that your worth and remind you of your worth so you can stop being used by these people. It's important to remember that you're not responsible for the actions of others, but that you need to be in full control of how you react to them. So I just want to give you some things to look out for when someone might be using you. Now, the biggest one is going to be that they only come around when they need something. And this is the one that's duh. If you have a so-called friend who only reaches out to you when they need help with completing an assignment or they need for you to do another favor, yes. I hate to tell you, but they're using you. Could be a good chance that they're just using you. I'm sorry, but there's no other way to put it. You might also argue that humans are social animals and occasionally reaching out for help isn't always done with malicious intent. This is really true. But if it's happening more often than not, then they don't reciprocate the same support back to you. I want you to review the argument and their intent because they could possibly be using you. The next big thing is that they don't follow through on promises. You know what I'm talking about. They'll tell you that they're going to do something, but then they go back on their word. This person is the infamous more talk and less to do type. It can be frustrating to rely on someone only to have them not follow through with something that they promised that they said that they were going to do. These patterns of activity are very damaging to a relationship. The constant undermining of trust cements the fact that they see you as someone that they can use, and that's it. That's all. Another big one is that they make you watch what you say. In other words, you have to walk on pins and needles, and you have a hard time expressing yourself freely around that particular person. And as a result, you find it difficult to say no to their requests. I want you guys to be careful, be aware, because this behavior is that invisible power play position that keeps you stuck in such a relationship. The user will send messages that denying their request might spell doom for you. They only do that because this is their way to manipulate you Using fear to control is absolutely not healthy in any relationship. If you feel like you can't openly speak your mind to someone, they may be using you. Another tip is that they only are nice when they need something from you. Usually they look right over you and don't pay attention to you. You're not part of who they want to be in contact with. They care less about you. But one day, all of a sudden, out of the blue, they are so clingy. They're so nice. I mean, it's like, oh my God, you guys are best friends. You're best buddies. Don't get me wrong. It's totally normal to notice fluctuations in behavior due to mood changes and mood swings, due to different circumstances in a relationship. But if you can think of someone in your life who only shows up and only shoots you a smile when they need something, and all the other time they're just radio static, this is a big sign that they're just using you. Listen to my guys, because this is a big one. And that is when your loved ones are worried about you being used by these people. And they will be the first ones to tell you, I told you, girl, I told you so. You didn't listen to me. I know this is the most dreaded phrase, right? Friends and family tend to see past the blinders that you missed. They see all the little subtle things in the relationship that you've missed. They notice that those things that you didn't pick up on, all those things that you might just be ignoring. If a family member or a close friend has pointed out toxic or controlling behavior in your relationship with someone else, then it might be worth listening to what they have to say and look into the situation and investigate it a little bit further for yourself. Now, this is going to be really important because you have to keep in mind that a lot of your true friends have your best interests at heart, and their suggestions can help you see clearly. Now, the next big tip is that they never say thank you. You constantly put them first with little or no gratitude is expressed back to you in return. If you can count on one hand the number of times they have said thank you, stop right there. It's hurtful and a prime example of being used, period, point blank. Not receiving gratitude after kind acts are not only damaging to relationships, but even lead to thinking that maybe your own actions weren't such a big deal after all. Like, in other words, I'm not making a big deal out of you. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what's expected for you to do. This can only lead to further damage further down the dark road of manipulation. Okay, so then we have last but not least, you may begin to dislike them. I'm sure a lot of us have been down this road more than once, and we could think about that person. I'm sure we got somebody that we can think about right now. I'm not sure if this is something that you really want to think about, but I'm sure we have somebody on our mind that, we dislike them. And I know we had to think about it, but it is completely normal. This thought process is necessary in order to help mold our lives into one that is healthy and what is ideal for us to have when we're pursuing a relationship with a friend or a family member. Usually when we feel resentment, when you think about that person, it's likely not for no reason at all. In reality, resentment is often accompanied by realizing that you were in a one-sided relationship. Relationships should be a two-way street, and similar care should be given to stop resentment from manifesting. I am here today to remind you guys, that everyone that is listening, that everyone has the right to be treated with respect and love. Nobody deserves to feel used or taken advantage of. If any of these signs describe someone you know, remember to use your emotional boundaries by practicing all the different ways you can say no. It is your responsibility to take care of you. Keep your heads up. I'm sending everyone out there that's listening to me today a big hug. I am getting off my soapbox now for today, letting you guys know, keep your heads up. Love you guys. Stop letting people take advantage of you and use you. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Yay. Today, we are not going to specifically have a section for keeping it real, because the topic that we are discussing today is actually a question that I received. And the question was centered around this particular person wanted to know, what are some of the signs of narcissistic abuse? How to heal from the abuse and eventually move on from the abuse. And I thought this was a really good question. Of course, I have a lot to say about this topic, so I decided to let it be the main topic for the day. So with that being said, let me start off this conversation and go back in time for a minute regarding my personal experience with narcissistic abuse so I can paint a picture to help me answer this question. So about 25 years ago, I left my kid's narcissistic father. At that time, I committed myself to raising my two children, and I was pretty laser focused on them. And I really didn't get into a relationship. I was unwilling to even allow myself to even have a desire for another partner. I went through some mental changes and everything, but I refused to become swept up in a new relationship. Instead, I reconnected with myself, my children, my friends whom I had been isolated from for so long when I was married. So when my children became adults, I decided it may be time for me to go back out in the dating world. And because I had some mental demons that I was dealing with, little did I know, but I would go through 2 more toxic relationships with narcissists, all because I had not healed those inner wounds. So my conscience was not aware of the red flags or the signs to look for when dealing with narcissists. So after dealing with myself and truly healing, I can testify today, I'm able to share with you some red flags or signs of narcissistic abuse to look out for if you think you may be in a narcissistic relationship, or what to look for to keep you from getting back into a narcissistic relationship. Yay! So, okay, first, let's start out with red flags to look for if you think that you may be in a narcissistic relationship. Now, it could be that you start spotting the biggest lies than the ones told at the beginning of the relationship. Or perhaps you realize they're constantly lying to friends and acquaintances. Remember that confronting a narcissist about this can backfire. Chances are you won't get a straight answer about their lies, and you will, instead of being wrongfully accused of being the liar, you could find yourself having to ask for permission to do basic things, such as go out with your friends or spend money on something, or maybe you have to sit down and answer to every single change on the credit card. Or if you're a child, like you got to sit there like you're a child or something who has gone over their monthly allowance. Whatever is going on that you're going through, though, when you're going with a narcissist, chances are you won't get a straight answer about their lies and will instead be wrongfully accused of being the liar. You're going to be accused of everything. That's going to be a big one when you're with a narcissist. Narcissists need to, be in control. Some narcissists are so overbearing to the point where they will install cameras everywhere possible so that they can control every aspect of your life from wherever they're located. Regardless of what you start to notice, remember not to argue or try to raise issues with them. Raising questions about their behavior can turn into a circular of arguments that will only make you feel as if you're at fault for something. And of course, you haven't done anything wrong. You haven't said anything wrong or even thought about it. But they'll make it look like it's all your fault. Arguments with narcissists are emotionally battering and confusing because there's never a resolution to the issue at hand. It's never going to be resolved. You're going to keep talking about the same thing and it's never going to be resolved. After all, the only issue is that you're raising any question about their behavior, and you shouldn't be doing that. You can never do that because you're not going to win. They're going to win. You will never win an argument with a narcissist because they always have the last word, the best and the most logical answer, and you will only be the victim of more gaslighting. Don't put yourself through that. A relationship with a narcissist will always be one-sided. You will always be doing all of the giving. What you do will never be enough, no matter what you are doing, or it's always going to be wrong in the narcissist's eyes, and you will constantly feel as if you're walking barefooted on broken glass. That's terrible, but that's kind of like what it'll feel like. Narcissists will use every opportunity that they have and use manipulation techniques to exploit your faults and weaknesses against you. As the relationship progresses, you will feel inadequate always and just all around broken. They make you feel as if nobody else could love you, only them. Nobody else wants you. You're here with me. But eventually one day you get up and you realize that you've been separated from your family and friends because of the narcissist control. They will lie about everything and prevent you from contacting your loved ones using guilt trips, threats, or, of course, they do more gaslighting than you care to think about. Or they may simply make you feel bad about wanting to spend time with others. If you have not been in the relationship for a very long time and you still have your sanity, pick up your things, pick up your self-esteem, get yourself up and run out as fast as you can and don't look back. Of course, if you've been in the relationship for a while and you're having the desire to leave, that will take some time and wisdom. And like I always say, when you're ready to leave a narcissist, don't let them know what you're doing and get out of your feelings. Don't get emotional. If you get in your emotionals, then you're not ready to leave. Okay? Of course, I've done some other, answered a lot of questions on that and some steps and some things that you can do prior to leaving a narcissistic relationship. But we're not really focusing on that today. We're going to be talking about these red flags. We've discussed what some of the red flags are if you think that you're in a toxic narcissistic relationship. So now let's talk about this conversation a step further. You did what you had to do to leave the narcissist and you're free. Thank God, I'm free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. You've been successful. You've gone through your healing journey and you think you're ready to step out and meet friends and possibly start dating again. So first off, let me say that we were all sucked in by the narcissist at some point in our lives. So now let's put some thought into how to date after experiencing narcissistic abuse. After years of spinning on a narcissistic merry-go-round, and I have learned a lot about relationships, love, about recovery from trauma, and about myself. So after all that, let me tell you, I can tell you what you need to know and what's going on. And I can tell you right now, after all that I've been through, it's going to be okay. Had I really known the red flags of narcissistic abuse or abusive personality disorders, when I was looking into getting into dating again, I may have avoided so many years of hell. So for all my listeners out there, when you start dating again or looking for a friend, make sure to imprint the red flags of narcissistic abuse in your mind. Now, there are a lot of red flags to look for, but for these are going to be those in your face, red flags that a lot of people miss or they don't talk about it. Get out your pen, get out your paper, because I'm going to give you a crash course on red flags to look for to assure you that you don't get locked back up in prison with a narcissist. So now let's look at this and let's talk about this and let's think about it. In the beginning of a relationship, narcissists will give the impression of being quite pleasant and magnetic. Their charm is almost so good to be true because they will always have the right answers and know what to say to make you feel so special. Keep in mind that they know what to say. They know what to say to you because they are able to mirror back what you want in a partner because they have been listening to what you are saying or what you want in a partner. So what do? They try to become what you're looking for. So with that being said, with my new rule of thumb is if you think it's too good to be true, roll with that because it's probably too good to be true. So how can you catch a narcissist before you completely are absorbed and they destroy your life? Here are a few things to consider. Now think about this. Their body language and tone of voice are going to contradict to their innocent statements. In other words, their words are nice, but their body language along with their facial expressions look like they're mad and they could really care less about what they're saying out of their mouths. They look so mad and angry, it may look like they want to fight. Okay, so what they're saying might sound really nice, but their expressions and their body language is going to be saying something completely and totally different. So another thing is that their compliments sound more like a reprimand from like I don't know, a coach or a gym teacher or something. For example, they may say something like, that's a really nice outfit that you got on, but it makes your butt look big and it makes you look fat. They have serious boundary issues and frequently invade your privacy without getting your permission. And it's going to be so subtle, you won't really see it coming, but this is a big one. For example, they will start moving their personal items in your apartment even after you told them they're not allowed to move in with you. All of a sudden, they say, it is our home. This is really a great example of how they feel like rules of boundaries that you have, they don't apply to them. And their decisions that they make are right and never wrong. They feel like they are entitled to do whatever they think they want to do without having a conversation with you to get your permission. Let me give you guys an extra tip with this one. Stop inviting people in your personal space and don't let them know where you live, because they will try to bombard their way in. I just thought about something. I have another really good example of this one. I had this guy that worked at one of my favorite restaurants, and I would go to eat at this restaurant at least 2 or 3 times a week. And he had been bothering me to hook up with him, and he would sweet talk me and say sexy things to me and how much he loved me and how much, I thought I was a queen and he was going to be so wonderful to me. And, I was so perfect. And I would say this went on for about 6 or 8 months. And finally I told him that I would go out with him. I gave him my number. And then I asked him where he wanted to take me out. He couldn't really give me an answer because this was not the norm, This was not the plan. This was not what he really wanted. Because, of course, the idea was to learn more about me and meet me at my house. But in my mind, I'm thinking that's not going to happen. I've been on that train and I don't want to take that ride no more. So he finally told me where he wanted to go. And I told him that sounded great, and I would meet him there at 7:00 p.m. the next night. That was totally not what he wanted. That was not the program. That's not what he wanted to come and pick me up. So that ended up, so let me tell you guys what ended up happening was that the next night he never showed up. Now, for those people who really want to get some red flags to really know what's going on, when you meet somebody, this is the best thing to do in the beginning of the relationship. To know that what you're really dealing with. With him not showing up, this is what it really means. He can't be seen in public with me because I'm married or I'm in another relationship. I'm not really into you like that. I just wanted to hit it, so I can get more control and figure out what I want to do with you and so I can take over your space. And since I can't do that though, and since I know I can't control you and do what I want to do with you, I'm going to have to find someone else that I can abuse and use and move into their space. So what I'm trying to get you guys to see and everyone to understand is once they know that they can't control you, they can't control the situation and be a part of your personal space or your environment, it's game over. He didn't really want to get to know me. He was not really interested in me, and all those sweet things he said about me, I was like, all that sweet talking, this sweet nothings bullshit to try to get me in my pants, to try to get in my pants and take over from there. Again, this is really a good way to find out what you're really dealing with. It will also let them know that you can't run no game here. You're not running anything here. Yes. No kindergarten games here. Thank you and goodbye. There's nothing else to say. Game over. Another thing to look out for is that they, with people that are highly sensitive to criticism or even suggestions and recommendations from others, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear, you got to keep in mind, narcissists know everything and nobody else knows anything. They're all knowing. And so they're going to be highly sensitive to criticism or suggestions that you may give them. Another thing is, beware of that flashy, showy, bigger than life personality, and that is so arrogant, and that they're going to have this sense of entitlement that they are better than everyone else in the world. So they're going to be critical and judgmental of what others do and what they wear and what they think. Now, a really good way to know who you are really dealing with is to ask to go to a date at a petting zoo or take a trip to a pet store and watch how they treat and deal with the animals. I know y'all thinking, Coach, you crazy as hell. Trust me on this one. Another good one is go on a date where you have to interact or be around a lot of small children. Pay attention and see how they interact and deal with children. Or even better, how do they treat their mother or fathers? Let's say that you say, hey, let's go on a date with let's invite your mother or your father. And when you hear them talking on the phone, or when you go on a date with them or out to dinner, while you are looking for the various negative behaviors with these people, watch their expressions and listen to the statements that they may insinuate some type of disrespect or hatred for children or animals or parents. Trust me, guys, this is a huge red flag. If they speak negatively about them or treat them like trash, then guess what? It won't be long before they will be treating you the same way. Trust me, this is a big red flag. Run as fast as you can. And now, another big flag to look out for is to be aware of people who make the following type of statements. Like, oh my God, I've never met anyone like you before. I can't explain how you make me feel. No one has never made me feel this way before. I'm just so drawn to you. I don't know what it is. I've never been drawn to anyone like this before in my entire life. Basically, in general, be aware of commitment type statements that don't seem to match with the amount of time that you've been dating this person. Like, for example, they will say, I love you, where, I love you. I don't know what I would do without you. Where have you been all my life? Or I know that you're my wife, or I know that you're my husband. But this is a kicker. You've only been dating them for this is like your second or third date. When they say something like that, run. You guys got to remember that romantic side, that romanticism without an emotional center is nothing but love bombing overload. And we all know that's the first step in narcissistic cycle. So all of that commitment, love bombing, oh, where have you been all my life? And you've only been dating him for, this is your second or third date. That doesn't go together. Run. That's not normal. Okay. To help pick up on other red flags, ask them about their past relationships and how did those relationships go. This is a good one. Be aware of the crazy ex stories. Sure, I know a lot of us, we've been in relationships before where we've had some negative relationship experiences, but this is going to be the kicker. Every single relationship that they have been in, the other person was dysfunctional. They were crazy. They weren't good to them. In other words, when you ask them the question, everything they say is going to be the other person's fault. And they're not going to take responsibility for nothing that happened in any of the past relationships. They're not going to be responsible for any of the breakups or anything. This is a great sign to show that he has no empathy, because he's always right and everyone else is wrong and everyone else is crazy. This is another big red flag. Get your stuff and run. Any of those crazy ex stories like that, run fast as hell. I was in that one of those relationships, and I would find pictures of the woman in the house and everything, and when I would go visit and everything, and I'm talking about ex-wives, ex-girlfriends, they said that they were all crazy. Every last one. And when they don't take responsibility for anything that happened in any of the relationships, that's a big red flag. Run. Now, these are just a few of the warning signs to look out for if you are involved in the relationship. And it's really the beginning stages. Run. Run while you can. For any of my listeners needing someone to talk to while dealing with narcissistic abuse, go to my website, risinghigherlife.com, to see if you could benefit from one-on-one coaching. If no one has told you guys today, I love you all. I'm sending you a big hug. Until next time, be blessed, and I'll talk to you soon. If you have any questions that you would like for me to answer, please email me at heycoachcookie@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Just remember, when I answer your questions, I'm going to bring it raw and I'm going to keep it real. Be blessed, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.